Glory. My nickname is Reenie, and I'd like to welcome you to Reenie Bobini Creations. If you're new to my channel and this is the first time you stop by to check it out, welcome. I do hope you like what you see. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing and sharing with your fellow crafters. If you're back and you've been to see me before, I'm so grateful that you are. If you haven't done so already, it would mean a lot to me if you'd hit that subscribe button. And again, share with your fellow crafters. So for today's craft, it is so adorable. I absolutely love it. It might be one of my all-time favorites. I really wanted to make some of the gnomes, but I needed them outside. I have this little mini bench that I was looking for something to put on. And these gnomes turned out so cute, and they are so easy to make. You'll absolutely love the final result. So let's stop yakking at ya, and let's get on with the crafting. Okay, so for today's project, we are making one of the gnomes, but I want mine for outside. And I think the gnomes are so cute, but I've been trying to find a way to maybe make it work for me outside. And I have, oh, it's so cute when it's done. I'm so excited about it. Anyway, so there's quite a few things you'll need that I'll list at the beginning. I've already listed at the beginning, but this is just the tablecloth from the Dollarama. They had them in all kinds of colors, so this is going to be his little rain jacket. But because mine's going outside, now you can just do the regular sock one and fill it with rice or whatever if you're using it indoors, but if it's outdoors, you really can't use the rice. So this little fabric thing I've got actually is somewhat water resistant now, and with the rain jacket I'm really hoping it's completely water resistant, but it's something that we get supplies in where I work. It's just they wrap them in this fabric, so I stole that. But you could use plastic garbage bags. You might want to double bag them depending on how thick they are. Anything that's going to have some resistance to water. And you're definitely not going to want to use rice, because if there's any leak, oh my goodness, that'll be quite a mess. So just because of the shape of mine and the way it worked, I have just some old tiles, and it happened to fit in perfectly, so he's going to sit flat. Again, this is a step that you can just, if you fill it with rocks or whatever, just flatten him out so he'll sit nice. But I just had that on hand, so I went ahead and used that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill him a little ways with just rocks just from outside in my yard, and I'm going to finish filling him up with some foam. So that's how I'm going to build his, I guess, under part of his body. So nothing fancy there. Again, if it's not going outside, you can use the socks and the rice just like all the other ones. If you've never seen one made before, do check out Pinterest or YouTube. There's loads of tutorials. But as I said, mine needs to be outside, so I had to make a few modifications here. So I'm going to go stuff our body here, and then we'll come back and start putting together our little gnome. Okay, so I did put some rocks in for some weight so it'll sit nice. We got that tile on the bottom, and now I'm just going to use regular old fiber fill, just stuffing, to do the rest of mine, because as I said, most of this is going to be water resistant, if not completely waterproof. But again, if you are doing it for inside or somewhere protected, you can go ahead and do the rice method for sure. Stuff them as tall as I think I need them. Alright, so he's all stuffed. I'm just going to use just a plain old elastic band at the top to close him up. And that gives us our sort of base or our body to work with here. If you feel like you need to, you can certainly put a little glue on there. I've never found it to be necessary, so I'm just going to leave him as is. So there's our body. So now we're going to make him a raincoat. And to do this, I am just going to see how long I need it to be. And how far around, so that's about a good width, I guess. And then we just cut it want to cut it just a smidge longer so you can fold up the top, give it a little spot of glue to create your hem. Just a bit longer than he actually is. So that should give me a pretty good line right there to work with, I'm thinking. And we'll just trim that off. That edge is a little jagged. I'm not the best with a pair of scissors, but we will trim that up. We won't see that edge anyway, but we're going to make it a little bit neater. Alright, so now coming back to our guy, let me just see which side I think I want the best. So, I'm going to wrap that one in, bring that one around. Actually, it could be cut off a bit better, I think. I'll just maybe fold it under to see where we need it. So, just like that. Easy peasy. So then, that's about where I want it. I think I'm just going to glue that edge, and then we are going to glue a hem for him as well. So just using my hot glue. Just do a little bead there. And then we'll just run. Sorry, my cord's not quite long enough here. Bead there and just fold them up and give them a nice, neat hem. Now when we fold it over, we're going to have, just tighten that one up, that didn't stick very well, did it? It's just going to fit like so. So, if we do that, and we can glue it, but then I kind of want a collar for him. So what we're going to do for the collar, something very similar to this. Oh, my glue's not holding very well, is it? Sorry about that. We are going to cut another piece the length of this. Let's find a straighter edge to work with here. We're going to fold it so we want it double the width that we actually want the collar to be. So we're going to trim that bit off. We're not overly concerned with perfection. I want it fairly straight, but as you glue the hems together and stuff, you can straighten out any of those edges. Okay, so to give this guy his edge, we're going to sort of pull it over, and you can see I tried to do it right sides together and then turn it inside out, but it wasn't working very well, so we're going to do plan B here. So just folding the one side in. This one you're going to fold the edges over and glue it together more like this. And that should give us our finished edge, and it should stick better than it did the other way. So, just again, just with our hot glue, running a bead. And we're going to do that the whole length here. Okay, so for his collar now, so we've got this big strip, and it's going to come just to where it starts to taper. We're going to trim this bit off. Like so. And then we're going to glue our collar like so. So we have this sort of lapel bit as well. So this one we're going to do on the inside. This one we're going to do slightly on the outside. So just like that. And you'll see how that works out when we put his coat on. Just run your bead. Along the edge there. And if it goes a bit long, we'll trim that off once we've got them sort of put together and see exactly how we want that lapel to look and how far down. So don't worry if it's a bit long like mine is here, but I may not need to trim it. We'll just see when we put them together. So on this one, I'm just going to change it because mine has the sort of nice edge. I'm going to put that one to the top. And I'm just going to run the bead. And I want to do it just below, so if you can see, so we can fold that, if that makes sense. So I think I'll run out on this one. Yeah, oh, glue gun, our glue stick. So just a light bead along the edge there. And glue it just like that. Now we can probably get to putting his coat on. So put him right to the edge. Wrap his coat, and we are going to fold his lapel down. And this is, we need to do this so that we can put his nose. So I'm just going to tuck that under after and give it just a bit of a tack just so it stays there, but I'm going to wait until I've got everything sort of figured out first. Same thing there, and now we'll be able to put his nose there. So I think that's going to work just fine. Fold this collar down. There. Tuck his around. And now I'm just going to tack that collar. Actually, I think I will glue him together first. Again, just a bit of hot glue. I'm going to glue it right to him. Bring the other bit around. And same thing, just going to glue it right to him. Collar's down. Okay, so while his nose is drying, we are going to work on his hat. Now I just got two lids here. One will fit inside the other sort of thing. And we're going to cut out two of the bigger ones. And I may even go slightly to the outside of them. And one of the smaller ones. So we'll just trace that right onto our yellow paper here. Oh, forgot my pen. Sorry guys. Okay, so we'll just trace that right around. And as I said, you're going to need two of these, but instead of cutting two, I'll just fold it in half and cut both together, if that makes sense. And then we'll just need one of the smaller guys. So then we'll just get them all cut out and I will come back to you with the next part. Alright, so this is what you should be left with. So now the next thing we're going to do is actually cut a hole out of the middle. So if you just fold the two in half, so these are the bigger ones, we are just going to cut a hole, and it doesn't have to be perfect, just like that, out of the center. So now that's what you should be left with. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, that's all going to be hidden anyway. We just want to be able to put it over so it sits nice. Actually, I may clean that up just a little bit, just so it's not quite so pointy. But like I said, perfection is not a thing, because it's all gonna be hidden eventually anyway. So just fix it up just a bit though. Okay. So now I'm gonna glue these two together. And I'm not going to worry about the edge on this. I think the gnome will be just fine. If I find that it's an issue later, maybe I'll deal with them, but I think it's going to be just fine without trying to turn your hands, because that's very hard to do on a circle. So we are going to just push them together, and I find that the hot glue does not like stick into the plasticky part very much. But like I said, I think this will be fine. I don't think it's going to be an issue. It's certainly not going to fray, so that's not going to be a thing. And so I'm just going to glue them together. Okay, so now that's all glued together, just around the edges. So the next is putting the center in. Now what I'm going to do is just fold it in half, fold it in half again. And I'm just going to cut some slits, just little ones. You don't want to go too big, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to do it all the way around. This is going to allow us to glue the edges all the way around and give us some proof to work with. So I am going to kind of put my puff in the middle of it first, just so I can see how tall I want it. So you're going to need some of your stuffing. Okay, so I got my little ball of fluff here. It's going to be top of the hat. So that just sort of gives me a guideline of where I'm going to put them on. So now again, this plastic stuff doesn't love sticking with hot glue, so you're going to want to hold them for a minute and make sure it's adhered down. So just where those little tabs are, I'm going to run just a little bit of glue in there, and I'm just going to start with one. And now you can do this a couple of ways. You can do it completely centered, so it's right in the middle. I'm going to do mine so there's sort of this wider part at the back, kind of like one of those sou'westers, if you know what I'm saying. I kind of want that look on my little gnome here. So I'm just going to keep kind of going around. And don't worry about this edge. We will do something with that before it's done here. So that's our little hat, and now just to finish him off, this is just a plain old shoelace. I'm going to go around the edge of the top of the hat and around the edge of the brim of the hat, just to give it sort of a more finished look, hide some of those seams, that sort of thing, and just I think the black, it makes it a little bit more masculine than just all the yellow. So there's our hat all done. So now I did want to give him rain boots and little feet. So I'm going to need a mop. I'm going to need this both for his feet and for his legs. So we're going to start with his legs. And I got 6 strands here. I'm going to glue them together at the top. And then I'm going to braid them to make his legs. Let it get a little bit dry there. And don't need to be too long. I'll probably end up trimming these down somewhat anyway, but just to give us a starting point. We're going to do that for both, obviously. When it came to making the boots, it took some thinking, let me tell you. So that's plenty long enough for his legs, so I'm just going to put a dot of glue in there just to hold them. I do my last braid. Go. So, for the boots, like I said, it did take some thinking. I came up with this ping pong balls, and I found these balloons with the polka dot. How perfect are those? So this part is a little bit difficult, I'm not gonna lie. You gotta get the ping pong ball in the balloon. So if you can stretch it as best you can and just work it, it will go in. See, so now we got her in there. That'll give us our round toe. Now we're going to put a little bit of stuffing in there to fill the rest of him out, and then we will feed his legs in there. So, move my stuffing, hang on. So yeah, you'll just have, it's a bit tedious, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit hard getting stuff in the balloon, but it did end up working, and of course it'll be waterproof, which is awesome. So just fight with it till you get it in there, and then we will get back to the leg part. Okay, so I've got some stuffing in there. I'll just mush it around until I get the heel looking like I want it to. And then I've got this skinny tube. Now you can get a toilet paper tube, just cut it and wind it up tighter. I just had this on hand, so this will work. And this is going to be the bottom of his leg and give you something to glue the braid to, because if we just try and glue it to the balloon, of course this is going to melt it and it won't work. So this will give him his sort of top of the boot and the place you're going to put his leg into. So again, it's a bit of a fight to put it in the balloon, but it will go in. Go, and then I'm just sort of going to shape it with what I've got in there. And so there's our little gnome boot. So once we've got it in, and I'm kind of happy with the shape, now I am going to trim some of the ends off. I don't need them to be that long, but I'm going to do the other one first just to make sure I get them fairly even. Okay, so our little gnome boots. Now I'm going to, I sort of did on this one already, you just want to pull the balloon part below there, because otherwise you'll melt it with the glue gun when you put it in. So we're going to take our little feet, and what we're going to end up doing is putting them inside, and that will work. But I am going to trim these off a bit because they are a bit full. Just trim them so they're a little less frayed. Put some glue around the inside. And then just fit our little legs in. And once that glue is pretty dry and not hot, you can pull the boots back up. And that gives us his little raincoat boots. The same. So now we need to work on his beard. And for that, again, I'm going to use the mop. Now I do have some strands from a previous project but just the mop heads from the Dollarama work perfect for this. And of course, being a mop head, doesn't matter if they get wet outside. Okay, so my mop came kind of stitched together like this, so I'm gonna make use of it. If yours didn't, no big deal. You can certainly just glue them right on, or get a piece of ribbon and just glue them to it. But because mine already came this way, I might as well use it this way. So I'm just going to cut him to about the length I think I need his beard to be. So I'm just going to cut it along there. Now when you do the beard, you're going to have some of it coming up from under the hat. You can see this. Okay, let me try this. And so you want the strands up around the hat and then some hanging down. Now the other thing you can do, and which I will probably do, is I'm going to sort of pull them apart and brush them out. But the first thing I'm going to do is trim them up a bit. I'm not going to worry about the top yet. I'll worry about that when we're getting the hat on. But to start with, I do want the beard to be just a bit shorter than it is. And I may shape it a bit too, but I'll just give myself sort of a guide. That will do for a guide. And I will just cut it. And it does not have to be perfect. Gnomes are definitely not perfect. But just so it's sort of somewhat uniform. Smooth piece from there. And you can always, once we get it glued on, we'll go back in and we'll trim him up and just a bit again, just to, once he's in place, but this will get us started. So then I'm just going to take and unravel these. And they're quite easy to do. And you can brush these out, but I kind of want him to look like he's got like a curly beard, I guess. See, they come apart quite easy. I'll hold it the other way now. And I'm just going to continue doing that to all of them. Okay, so now it's time to put our little guy together. Now the only thing I forgot to mention or do was when I finished painting his little nose here, I did put a sealer coat on it again because mine's going to be outside. So I happen to have the dishwasher safe Mod Podge on hand, so that's what I used. You could use a spray varnish, anything like that that would just seal it again if you're going outside. So we've got his beard already, his feet. The first thing we're going to do is put his nose on because that's going to be our reference point for pretty much everything else. Alright, so just with some hot glue, I'm going to be very generous with my glue. So I'm just putting him on there. He's pretty good and adhered. This is where we want to do his beard. Now before I do his beard, I think I am going to just tack these down. Now they're not even going to be seen because the beard's going to hide them, so I'm not too concerned about those ends. Again, they're not going to fray or anything, being the kind of material that they are. So we're just going to tack them down so they stay sort of out of our way. So now I've got this green thing going on. I will hide that after, but for the moment, I'm just going to put his beard on. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to glue the top to the top of his head and around his nose. So, and we'll, like I said, we can trim up the beard a bit later once he's all put together. So again, boatloads of glue. Be very generous with your glue. And I am just gonna glue them, I'm hoping you can see that okay, all the way up to the top. So I'm gonna run a bead of glue, and I will put some on the beard after just to keep it where we want it, but just for now. get those stuck down. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Now I was putting it on his head, but I find that if I put it on the mop strands, it's a little more accurate actually. So yeah, I don't think I ever get through one single craft without getting a glue gun burn. Okay, so there. There. Now, so that's what he should look like. Now we're going to put his hat on, and that's going to hide all of that mess. Now don't worry about around his nose and stuff. We will fix that after with some more strands. So I'm just going to glue, let's see if I can show you, his hat on like this. And I'm going to put a glue around his nose to keep it down, and I'm going to glue it pretty much all the way around. So okay, so now his hat's on. He's looking pretty cute. Oh, there's one weird strand. So now I'm going to hide the green, and the way I'm going to do that is just take some extra strands, some shorter ones, and tuck them underneath. I'm also going to give them like a mustache. So I'm going to do something very similar. I'm just going to unravel some of them. I'll keep them sort of together at the end a little bit. If they unravel a bit, not a big deal. And I'm just going to glue the mustache up top and let it come through. And like I said, I'll put a few more strands under here, and then I'll trim him up a bit. So I won't make you watch all this boring part, but I will get him done up, and then we'll come back and get the legs on and finish up the details. Okay, so there's our gnome all trimmed up, beard on. So we just need to attach his feet. So to do that, I'm going to attach him this way, so not right on the bottom, because I want him to be able to sit on his side. And again, boatloads of hot glue will do the trick. Oh, I still do have enough in there, but I was going to put, I guess, a boatload in there. Let those get good and dry. Our little gnome is done. So here's our little gnome sitting by his missus on the little bench I had in mind for him. I'm really pleased with how these turned out. I thought they were really, really cute, and I hope you liked them too. Thanks for watching.